Hey guys, and we're live here. My name is Justin, Console Kits, they call me. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about the Arcade1up Star Wars pinball. We're going to kind of take you through, give you my thoughts on it, kind of talk about it. For those that may not know, I'm sure most of you know, but Arcade1up came out with a Star Wars pinball machine. It's $549. You can pre-order it at GameStop. There was a little bit of delay on that. They're not available until about February. We thought we would have them right now, but there was some QA delays. We've kind of joked around on the 1UP Weekly about how it's in the bottom of the ocean. That's not exactly true, although there was some Arcade1up outrun machines that did get damaged in a shipment that may perhaps even be at the bottom of the ocean. The Star Wars cabinet, as we talked with John D last week, actually had a QA issue. Like the original versions that they pre-built, I don't know, must have been in November. They did a run of them. They were planning on shipping those out. They had some issues with longevity. So you'd leave it on for over like 8 hours and it would just like shut off. And so that was a quality issue. So they said no. They went back and then fixed that. And now they're making some more. So how does Retro Ralph have one? Well, before they actually get the approval to, kind of make thousands of them, they do what's called a pre-production. And they make about 10 of them. They say this is the exact version that they're going to, scale up to several thousands, and that'll be a part of the pre-orders. And so Retro Ralph was able to pick up one of those. And so tonight I wanted to talk a little bit about the live stream that we had tonight and how it's affected me, how it's like really got me super excited about the Star Wars pinball and how excited I am for Star Wars in general, and why I'm more excited than ever to get this Star Wars cabinet. So we're going to take you through a quick journey, if you bear with me just for a second. So here's a thought. So earlier, January 7th, this is where it all began. This is footage on Retro Ralph's channel. This is us, literally, I'm behind the camera, and Ralph, that's his hand, us seeing the Star Wars pinball machine for the first time. And we got pretty excited. You guys remember that? I don't know if those who were watching it, we had to adjust the camera. It was all messed up. It was a big deal for us. Our hearts were pounding because it's the first time we did anything live. We're live at CES. We're running off of this crazy Wi-Fi, and it just, we're hoping that it would actually work. It ended up being a really long stream. What was it? Almost 40 minutes long of Ralph and I going through the booth. Anyway, so here was the original prototype that we saw. Ralph got to play it. I did not. Now, we've joked about that on the show before. If I wanted to play it, I talked to them. They did say I could play it if I wanted it. I actually said, no, it's fine. Let Ralph play it. It was fine. I wanted to be more behind the camera at CES. I wasn't really excited to show my face. I was starting a new job, but I knew I wasn't going to be on YouTube for quite some time. I needed to take a break. So there was just like, anyway, whatever. So that was the original unit that we saw there. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I was really excited about it. So then we jump forward, now November 22nd. Maybe you guys joined us for the 1UP Weekly. This is live with Mel Kirk from Zen Studios. I believe COO is his title of Zen Studios. And he talked about the passion. He talked about how he worked really close with Arcade1up and Lucasfilms, and to be able to get a cabinet that we can enjoy. He even went on and talked about how he worked closely with Jon Favreau himself for a Mandalorian table that they have planned to come out later, on other Zen platforms. There was even a tease later with Jon that perhaps eventually Arcade1up could have like a Mandalorian. So I wanted to talk about that just for a second. We'll take a break from Arcade1up. For those of you that haven't seen, The Mandalorian Season 2 just finished. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but those in the comments, I'm sure you saw it, right? Some of you did. Star Wars is back, and it's back better than ever. I loved Star Wars when I was a kid. I told a story on the live stream about how I got a new appreciation for the prequels when I had a daughter. And she watched, when she's about 5 or 6, she watched 4, 5, and 6 and loved episode 1. She loved it. She loved Jar Jar Binks. And here I am, a daughter that I love. I can't say, no, you're wrong. She loved it. I can't take that away from her. And it made me realize she was at the right age to see Jar Jar and love it. And now she's 12, and we're watching Mandalorian together as a family. It's probably one of the only TV shows where everyone in the family is super excited to watch every single episode together, and we've watched them over and over and over again. It has everything you love about Star Wars in it. It has the Force. It has, Baby Yoda, and it has this character, the Mando, right? Mandalorian. It's a fantastic series. I'm going to talk about it just for a second. Here, you watch the first few episodes. You can't even see the guy's face, yet the camera tells you how he feels. Think about that for a minute, right? When in one of the early episodes where he leaves, Grogu or Baby Yoda. It kind of spoiled the name for some people that didn't know him, but you should know by now. When he leaves Baby Yoda in one of the early episodes and then goes back to the Razor Crest, there's this moment of regret, and he's about to fly away. You don't even see his face. The camera moves in just the right angles where you know what he's thinking. And then he goes back to get him. And then we're going to fast forward to the final episode, season 2. I'm not going to give it away, but you get to see emotion, and it's so profound. And the way they just made that episode so emotional, several people have admitted to me that they cried. I did. My wife, she's not even a huge Star Wars fan, but she was tearing up from the emotions that it brought. Every single thing in the episode was just building up to this amazing point. And then Disney announcing that they're going to have a total of 10 Star Wars shows in production that are coming out 2022 and down the road. And then we're going to bring it back. Then Ralph and I do a live stream to unbox Star Wars. And it looks great. It looks really great. I've never been so excited about this. I thought this was basically a toy that I'm going to buy for my daughter, and it will be decent. It'll be pretty good. I will play it. She will play it. She'll probably play it more. After watching this stream, this is something that I really want to get into. I really want to play it. I'm not even really into pinball, but because the brand of Star Wars is so good, and I've never played this game before. A year ago, I knew the title. I knew a lot of the titles that were going to come out, and I was like, okay, I could totally get those on a Switch, and I could totally learn them and play them. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not really into pinball, but I'll make these videos with Ralph, and we'll talk about it. And then, man, seeing those games, it connects it all together. And the fact that Star Wars is doing so well as a franchise right now, Mandalorian bringing it back, and then seeing that those games were going to be, a lot of fun, I'm excited. I'm super excited. And I basically wanted to go live to share that. Wanted to talk about a little bit about the highlights from that show. Ralph, literally right now, is making a more polished video. Yeah, Jeff, he's like, I have FOMO. I guess I have FOMO. I must. We had an entire video where we talked about that. But we tried really hard. This was the plan, that we were going to go live and try to get that shot where we could show the plunger in action, because it seemed like Mel on Twitter, he didn't really get those shots. I don't think he was... maybe he just didn't know how important that shot was to us, what we're talking about. And I'm not sure exactly where it's at. You'll have to find it in the stream. But the idea is where... when he pulls back, Ralph did it somewhere around here, where the menus. Oh my God, you know how much, if you guys have been following me for a while, you guys know how much I love really good menus. It's what I do for a living. I work hard with other designers to come up with, it's called focus management and layout design and swim lanes and all these indicators. See, just like right there, the indicators are bouncing, indicating that you can move. All that has to be thought through. And I'm not, a brilliant person that comes up with the designs. I work with great designers that come up with things like that, and I implement those designs as my day job. And right here, we got multi-layer scrolling background. I don't know if they're doing an MP4 in the background or that's a picture that's animating and sliding. But all of that looks great. Come on, the focus management. They got two peak images on the side, and then one in the middle that's larger and in focus with a white border around that. I mean, all that stupid UI design talk. And then filling up the space at the top with the high score is great because your eyes are going to be looking at that play field close to the screen. That's how pinball works. You're thinking about the ball that's going to roll towards the flippers, right? High scores are up above. It's not as prominent, but also as you scroll through the games, you're going to be able to see your family, their scores on each game. Like, that's a brilliant design. Absolutely awesome. I was also surprised about how when you go into the game, I'm not sure we're going to find the footage, but you can access in-game menu settings. This is an important feature. When you implement that on a gaming system, that means the game has to temporarily pause and then take you into a menu, adjust the game settings in real time, and allow you to go back to the game. Now, I don't know, maybe that's a feature that Zen already has on their Android platform or whatever, but as something that implements software, that's sometimes hard to do because initially when a developer is building a system like that, most of those settings that you build in have to be initialized at the game startup or the application startup. And, being able to adjust it in real time is not a feature that all units have. I've been playing with other gaming systems recently that I was surprised that had it, like the new Sega arcade, what is it called? The Sega Astro City Mini. The Astro City Mini does have that feature where you in-game menu options where it pauses, you can make adjustments and go right back into the game and game saves and stuff like that. I think that's really cool. There was some downside on this machine. And people were talking about the 720p. It is running on a 1080 screen, but it's outputting from the PCB at 720. And that was really to be able to maintain that 60 frames per second. Live, when we were talking, I'll have to go back and try to find it, but there was a point where Ralph was playing a game and the animation kind of completed kind of the cinema scene, and it was transitioning back into the normal gameplay, and it looked like it kind of skipped some frames, maybe that animation was just a little too much for the system. But we were playing it on maybe it was just a hiccup or maybe this is that part of that game, but I kind of noticed it, but I wasn't really focusing on the game. And Ralph's like, "Oh, did you see that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of noticed there was something jarring there for a second." But we were live for, I don't know, over an hour of gameplay, I want to say. And first impressions just look like this thing is fun. This is something that you're going to enjoy playing. So I wanted to just kind of run through that real quick, kind of share my excitement for it and my jealousy. Yeah, people in the live stream were talking about, am I jealous? Yeah, I'm jealous that I don't have one. I guess it's my own fault for not not pushing into making more videos on YouTube. I would have probably had a higher reach, and Arcade1up maybe would have considered me as someone that could have been done a quality review on it. But they were limited in their options, I'm sure. I think they only had 10 units, and I'm sure some of those were going to go to employees and things like that for their final QA review. And it's cool that Ralph at least included me on the journey. So I'm really looking forward to Ralph's review. He's been texting me. I think I got some text messages now. He's discovered some really, really cool things that you can do with the machine already that I'm not going to share on this stream because you're gonna have to wait for Ralph to unveil that. So couldn't be more excited. And I don't know. I wanted to just do a quick stream and kind of share with you guys my thoughts on it. Maybe I'm hyping it up. Maybe I have FOMO, but I don't know. Tonight, that was my thought, right? Like after the show was over, I sat there and I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, this is going to be really cool. My daughter's going to love it. Some of the games that I saw Ralph play that I didn't really think were going to be that good, they didn't really call to me by the title name. It seemed to be some of the coolest games that he was enjoying the most. And I was getting excited about all the little tilt features. I don't know if you guys saw it. Like, he was moving it and the ball was moving. And Mel kept on saying how they worked really, really hard for all of those detailed features. And he said things like, if they wouldn't have spent so much time on the Arcade1up project, they could have put out a whole new game. So that's how much time they spent on trying to get the unit, to up to par that they wanted. And they have challenges. Like, what are their challenges? They have to run it on a hardware that fits the Arcade1up budget. They originally said it was going to be like $500, ended up being $550. So, and everyone's got to make money, right? So Disney's got a big stake in this, right? There's Disney IP that must be paid. And I've heard, from what I've heard, like from what Mel, in fact, was saying, those licenses are not cheap. Like, you make a product and put something like Star Wars on it, you gotta pay, right? And then, and so, that's a good amount of the money. And Ralph and I were talking about this earlier. It's like, if you think through it, like, I don't know the business, I don't know how it all works, but let me guess based on my primitive understanding about how this business works, right? Bear with me just for a second. And please, I invite you in the chat to correct me if I'm wrong, if you're in the business and you know this. So Shark Tank is a really fun show. And it's not like you're going to get great understanding of how business works from watching Shark Tank. But there's this common thread on Shark Tank where they talk about, like, how much is that cost you to make? How much are you selling at wholesale? So let's take a guess. It costs $550. How much, put it this way, how much is Walmart buying these for? And how much is, Walmart and GameStop wanting to profit off of wholesale? A number that I see a lot on Shark Tank is like 50%. They're like, yeah, like, and I'm like, really? You sell your, someone's like, yeah, we sell these at direct to consumer retail for $100. You're like, oh, and you sell them at wholesale to like Walmart. How much is that? They're like, oh, yeah, we sell them for like $50. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm way wrong, right? Correct me. This is based on like live memory of watching the show, like, 3 years ago. So I could be way off, right? So Zero Hero says their profit margin is about 34% on electronics. Okay. And then 50% for seasonal merch. Let's say 50% because the math is just easy. And let's just say $500. That means Arcade1up has a budget of $250. Wholesale. Is that right? Am I wrong on that? How much is that monitor? Wait, let me back up. How much is the IP? What if the IP, just guessing, what if the IP is 50%? Is it that much? Do they have to pay Disney like $125 of the wholesale? How does that work? I don't know how that works. Is it $10? Is it $50? It's something, right? But we're starting to see, like, the budget getting lower and lower. And I'm thinking about this because we keep on talking to John. The community is like, listen, I spend $500 on an arcade cabinet. Why does it not have Sanwas? It should have Sanwa joysticks, right? And we look and go, aftermarket Sanwa joysticks, I can pick them up for $25 every day. I need 2 of those. That's going to cost me $50. That's cheap. Why doesn't it come with the arcade cabinet? And I'm thinking, because $50 on an arcade cabinet, okay, maybe they can buy those at scale, right? According to John, they're super expensive compared to the joysticks they already have. How much do the joysticks they already have come to? Supposedly, it's much less than Sanwa. How much? I don't know. I can guess if you want. They buy those sticks, let's say extremes, and maybe this would make sense. The extremes maybe are the joysticks cost them $3, and if they wanted Sanwa, it'd cost them $15. But when you're dealing with our budget's only $100 some because you got to pay. Sure, if you put out a cabinet where there's no license fee that you have to pay, and it's running games that, and I'm not trying to dog like competitors. Like, let's literally talk about if they came out with a pinball machine with 0 games on it, with no wrap of any IP, like a game that someone just made up. It's like an open source game, let's just say, for the sake of argument. Yeah, it would tremendously lower their cost, And Mike, I see that you make a good point. Joysticks times 5,000. I can't get over the fact that John still says, like, it's just not. It doesn't financially make sense for them to spend that extra money, to increase that cost. So wrapping this around to pinball, they ended up going with 720p instead of 1080. I think this is within their means for their budget. Jumping from 720 to 1080 would be a big leap in the hardware. They're trying to maintain the 60 frames per second so that the game feels good in exchange for the fidelity. And I'm curious if any of the competitors are actually going to be able to do 1080p 60 for real. The only reason I mention that is I do work with Linux-based hardware systems, essentially set-top boxes that are trying to run graphical interfaces on it, and 1080 menu UIs are hard to do on a lot of systems, especially you throw in animations. The GPUs of these systems are usually pretty low. So you can have a quad-core processor with 1.5 gigahertz that can operate your logics and logistics pretty well. Memory, consumption and parsing of data and transferring between buses is all super fast. Throw something animation on it at 720, you're good to go. You can make things fly, make it look good, pretty. Go to 1080, and you got to have a beefy amount of GPU to make it look good, and you'll drop frames. Even then, you drop frames. But I don't know. I'm not in the gaming industry. I don't build games I'm in the entertainment industry for video streaming production. So maybe it's a little bit different, but I know a lot of the hardware that I work on is 4K when it comes to MPEG video streaming, but it's only 720 when it comes to anything graphical that you see on the screen that's not playing video. A lot of these hardwares are optimized for MPEG, but they're not necessarily optimized for anything else. Anyway, so I've kind of ranted on for too long. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And we'll see down the line if they come up with bigger hardware for later. But for now, this is what we're going to get. And I couldn't be happier with the review that we got so far. I'm really hoping that when I get it, it's as good as Ralph's hype seems to think it is. But I trust the man. We said we're going to go live and just talk raw. That was our plan tonight. And so when we asked him the questions, I think he said what was on his mind. So if this is the first time you've seen a video from me, please like and subscribe. Comment down below if I missed any thoughts that you had. Just got a text that I gotta do some family stuff. So take care, guys, and I really appreciate it. I look forward to hanging out with you guys on Sunday. You can use this video to ask any questions that you may have. We can talk about that on Sunday. Ralph's video as well. Maybe even his first impressions will come out tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll see if he can stay up. And then do your comments there. And again, we'll try to answer those on the 1UP Weekly in more long form explanation of what we know. So thank you so much, and it's a good time to be a Star Wars fan. Take care.